Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Worldviews. Today, we are joined by Tom TJump, a philosopher and debater known for his calm, Socratic style and thought provoking conversations on atheism, theology, science, morality. Through his YouTube channel, he's built a space where both everyday people and leading scholars can wrestle with life's biggest questions. Tom, thanks for coming on Worldviews.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. You put a lot more thought into my intro than I ever have, that's for sure.
we try our best here. First, Tom, can you just tell us what your upbringing was like? Did you grow up in a religious home, a non-religious home? How was that for you?
Yeah, I was brought up in a actually just want to check, like my sound is really low on the feed thingy. Can you hear me all right? And is it gonna
Yeah,
come
I hear
through?
you. Yeah, I hear you pretty fine, actually.
So yeah, in the recording it's not gonna like I don't know if it's gonna be fine or not, but just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, you sound good on my end. I think you should be good.
All right, yeah, so my upbringing. I was brought up Christian, went to Catholic school, Catholic high school. Actually, the school I went to recently, there was a shooting there last week, the Annunciation in Minnesota.
Oh, how's your school, huh?
Yeah, that was the grade school I went to. But yeah, so I was brought up Christian, lost my faith in high schoolish, was an atheist ever since.
What was the? I imagine it was a series of moments that led you to deconstructing.
Um, Major depression for most of my life. None of my prayers were ever answered, and then contradictions in the Bible after starting to study it were the main causes.
Did so? I imagine then, did people try to? I guess your like peer group at that time. Did they try to convince you to come back?
Didn't really have a peer group. It's pretty isolated for most of my life. Didn't really have friends or family or anything.
Okay, so there was no one to say like, "Hey, you should look into these." I guess arguments and whatnot.
Yeah, not until I started my YouTube channel and started debating professors. Was there anybody who was trying to present arguments?
Okay, let's talk about that because your YouTube channel I saw it says 2 years old. Like your videos are 2 years old. That can't be true. I thought you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I got demonetized by YouTube for reused content or something, and so I had to delete all of my videos and reapply to get undemonetized. And then now I've been uploading the videos again um, every day, essentially.
Okay, what? So when did you first start YouTube? Like when was that?
Probably about 10 years ago, I guess. Mm, don't
And
really have
what?
it memorized.
Sure. And what caused you to start your YouTube channel?
It was a way for me to practice talking to people when in a space where I was comfortable. I was extremely antisocial for pretty much my entire life. And I used YouTube as a way to learn social skills and overcome the social anxiety by talking to people that about philosophy and God and stuff, which was much easier for me to relate to than small talk.
I see. So your debate experience came from just conversations, then into debate. You didn't actually have any type of debate training going into this.
Maybe there were some classes in school or something, but nothing I really took seriously.
Okay. What has been like, I guess what it could be philosophical or other. What was like the biggest shift you've had in your beliefs over the years?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. Kind of depends. Like converting from Christianity to atheism, I guess, might be a big one. But I guess it'd probably be more likely to say going from like suicidal major depression to not severely depressed would probably be the biggest transition, maybe.
Right. Since you have so much experience debating, wrestling with all these arguments for God, arguments against God, all that, is there a specific argument for theism you actually find challenging? Or do you just think they're all equally false, I
Um,
guess you could say?
Well, I definitely think they're all false, but there are different layers of argumentation that have a lot of intellectual things you have to work through to be able to address them. So, like Thomism, arguments from Rob Coons is very, very intelligent. And so, processing through the arguments and trying to fit them into a paradigm that explains why they don't work is much more difficult for arguments that have that level of intellectual depth as opposed to like precept or something that is pretty simplistic by comparison.
Yeah. Have you had a conversation with raccoons before?
Two, yeah.
How was that?
The first one I didn't do as well because I wasn't as prepared, but the second one I think I did significantly better.
So this was just like this wasn't a debate though. This is just a dialogue.
Um, Mostly the same thing though. There we were debating Thomism and whether there's evidence for God, but it was an open conversation.
Okay. So I guess which argument do you think is I'm trying to phrase this in a way that's not like stupid. Like which argument do you think is the greatest despite the fact that you still find it incorrect?
Um, hmm. I mean, the physics-based arguments, or prior to the discovery of evolution, probably the best argument was the design argument from DNA. Just see DNA is a code. Codes, as far as we know, are only made by minds, and so it's rational to conclude once we discovered DNA that it was made by a mind. And it wasn't until after the predictions made by evolution regarding DNA showing that it's a result of natural processes and that the natural process explanation can make progress in those fields while the design hypothesis can't make progress in those fields. It wasn't until those discoveries that it would have been rational to reject the design hypothesis for DNA. And so probably the best argument historically would have been the design hypothesis for DNA back when it was first discovered.
Mm. Since your experience with debating and whatnot, do you think that's solidified your worldview? Or do you think that makes you, since you engage with these conversations that are contradicted to worldview so often, does that make you more open to changing the aspects of it?
Um, Probably solidifies it more because I engage with highly academic intellectual viewpoints from the other side. And because I can rebut those pretty easily in a very easy to understand way, it probably makes it less likely that I would be able to convert because to convert, it would essentially take more evidence than has ever been presented to me by someone smarter than anybody who's presented it to me or something along those lines. And so it's probably less likely because I have more experience dealing with those arguments at that level.
Yeah, because you would probably say at this point, for you to become a Christian, it would actually take like a supernatural experience with the living God. Was that correct?
No, I'd just say it takes novel testable predictions, the same thing as anything in science. You just have a hypothesis, predict things about the future that no one else predicts yet, confirm them with repeatable experimental evidence. That would be what it would take to convince me a God did exist, but then to convince me to actually worship the God, that probably would be impossible in the case of the Abrahamic gods because of the whole drowning babies, mass murdering dictator kind of things. So even if I granted he existed, I probably wouldn't worship him.
What do you think your ideal God would be?
A morally perfect God would be a God who created a world where it was impossible to force anyone to do anything they didn't consent to doing. That's the only world a morally perfect being could create.
What do you think the other side gets most incorrect about your positions?
Um, Depends on the person, I guess, more than the
Have you
side.
has there been a, I guess, and most common misconception about your side that you found throughout your
Well,
time debating and interacting with Christians and theists?
well, again, it's like it depends on the type of person. So if you're a precept, you have this innate bias that knowledge is impossible without God. And so the first thing they get wrong is that you can't have knowledge without God. That's just obviously wrong. And so that's where their most common misconception is even that after I demonstrate to them you can have knowledge with no presuppositions whatsoever. They just they can't comprehend it because it just destroys their worldview. Other from a more classical theist approach, it would be things like that you can have morality without a God. Most Christians can't comprehend that there could be an objective system of morality without God.
Yeah. Who do you think is whether it was Christian or anyone else, who do you think the smartest people you ever debated was?
Rob Coons would definitely be up there. I debated a number of very intelligent academic professors, Randall Rouser, um, Kirk Durston. Haven't rewatched those debates in a while, but there are a number of them with very intelligent theists. I did one recently in Australia. Oh, I forgot his name though, but he's very intelligent. Chris Chris Mutherin, I think.
You debated him in Australia, or he was from
Mhm.
Australia?
Yeah, I flew down to Australia for a lecture I did at their conference about how to communicate with people with opposing worldviews.
Okay, because I'm curious because you do lectures, you do debates, all this stuff, and we talked a little bit about it, but I don't know. How did it feel with the transition between your social awkwardness to having more of the ability to engage with people more comfortably? Does that question kind of make sense?
Um, in a way, it was kind of like the frog who's in the boiling water kind of situation, where if you just change the temperature slowly, it's becomes more comfortable. And so there are areas that began very uncomfortable, like talking to people in person, that with practice became much more comfortable. And so in most cases, I don't feel the same level of social anxiety that I started with. The only time I still really feel it is with really attractive women. That's my biggest weakness, my kryptonite, essentially.
Are you married?
No.
Do you want to be?
Um, Probably not. I mean, I'm probably more of the date more women type rather than settle down.
Because you're Minnesota, you said.
Hmm.
Okay, have you been to the state fair?
Yeah,
That place is electric.
not a fan.
Not a fan, really.
No, get extremely bored.
You get bored easily, or you just get bored at the fair easily?
Well, both probably, but yes, because I don't really typically enjoy doing stuff like social events unless I'm with someone who's like really attractive. But so just going to the fair and just going on rides or trying food is I'd rather be doing that in a place that didn't cost as much money or be as crowded or at least be with someone like on a date and then it'll be fun. But just going alone would be boring.
Well, how do you usually spend your time? Sounds like you prefer
Working.
to do stuff indoors, working.
Um, yeah, I can't really be doing what I'd actually like to be doing, so I do productive things.
If what's your ideal? I guess if money wasn't an option. I mean, if you had all the money you wanted, what job would you do?
What job? I don't know. I would maybe own an art studio, own a fashion studio, own a coffee shop, places where I could easily meet women. That would be what I would do.
It sounds like your big driver right now is a lot of dating and stuff. Is
Always
that fair to
has
say?
been. It's because of my autism. My special interest has always been attractive women. That's the only time I'm genuinely having fun. It's when I'm with women. So yeah, it's always been that way. Everything I've done my entire life has been centered around that pretty much.
Do you debate them on dates?
I have didn't go well.
Wait, what was it about?
Well, I went on a date like 2 weeks ago with a Christian, and we were talking about the Bible and why I deconverted. And I told her about 2 Kings 2:24. Powerful statement. It's the one where God sent the mother bears to maul the guys for making fun of the bald guy.
And what you say to that?
She said she hasn't heard of that one. I don't think she read the Bible cover to cover.
So you're open to dating Christians, it sounds like.
Sure,
Interesting. I
as long as they're cute
uh,
enough, send them my way.
oh, I forgot. That's a driver here. Who do you think? Oh, actually, speaking debates, do you think? I mean, I guess in your experience, did you find it common that debates have actually changed people's minds, or do you think it's that would be contingent on, I guess, the exposure and the performance of the debate itself, or the
Debates
debaters? I mean,
debates change usually about a single digit percentage of people's minds. So usually like 2 to 4% of people's minds, which is from the perspective of like a political candidate, that's a huge amount. So it's significant the amount of people's minds who are changed by debates, but it's still only a small percentage of the number of people who actually engage with the debate.
do you expect yourself to be some of that debates for like the rest of your life in like a professional context?
As long as they pay me.
So you charge a fee every time you debate.
Well, I charge a fee and I get paid ad revenue and donations, super chats.
Oh, I see. Do you have a dream debate opponent?
Whoever gets me the most views, so probably Donald Trump.
Do you have I guess, a more realistic dream debate opponent?
Um, I don't know. Maybe William Lane Craig.
Oh, yeah, I guess just because he's like the tier 1 Christian apologist.
Yeah, he's very famous and very intelligent, and so debating him and presenting strong arguments against his case would be very beneficial for my YouTube channel.
Okay, here's a scenario. Let's say tomorrow God appears to you, and so you know he exists. What part of your life do you think would change first?
None of it. I would like if I
None of
was
it.
we were talking, I'd be like, so the whole drowning babies thing. I'm not really for that. I can't really worship you on moral grounds because you mass murdered a whole bunch of people.
But the answer would change if it wasn't the Abrahamic God. Like, let's say it's
Um,
the God you described earlier.
well, if it was the God I described earlier, he would have created the best of all possible worlds, which isn't this one. This is not, we're not in the best of all possible worlds. So there'd be a contradiction in the fact that there's a God before me, but he didn't actually create the best of all possible worlds. Therefore, he can't be a morally perfect God. Um, so the one hypothetical possibility would be like if God created the best of all possible worlds and all humans on earth decided to give up their rights to a perfect world to experience suffering or whatever. And then the God was like, "No, you chose this, and you wanted to wipe your memory or something." I'd be like, "Okay, send me back. Snap my fingers. Give me back to the world I really want to be in."
Okay, the best of the possible worlds thing, does the best of the possible worlds does that world have flaws?
I don't. Depends how you define a flaw. The best of all possible worlds, as just a minimum definition, is simply a world where it's impossible to force anyone to do anything they don't consent to doing. They can still do anything that they consent to. So, like, if they consent to suffer, or they consent to starve, or they consent to age, they can experience all of those things if they want to. Um, so, the only rule in the world is that you can't be forced to do anything you don't consent to doing. But there are no limits on what you can consent to doing.
So everyone in this world can it sounds like everyone in this world would only ultimately the pursuit of satisfaction?
Well, it's pursuit of whatever you want. So like you could choose, like a video game, you can choose to turn up the difficulty. You can choose to experience more pain and more suffering. And most likely people would do that. So it wouldn't be just desire satisfaction. It would be the pursuit of different kinds of experiences, just like playing all the kinds of video games you can or all the different kinds of worlds.
That reminds me of the, was it the mouse utopia experiment? Have you heard of that?
Yes,
The
but
whole thing where
the
oh, go ahead.
reason that didn't work was because they were all trapped in a small box with everyone else. And the best of all possible world, everyone gets their own universe and they can redesign it however they want. So it wouldn't be like the mouse utopia because you wouldn't all be trapped in a small box with everyone else.
I think the Islamic heaven is structured that way.
No, like the ownership of the planet essentially is of the male head of the family and your property of that person essentially, which wouldn't at all be comparable because every individual consciousness would get its own universe. No consciousness would be subject to any other consciousness. So not quite, no. And there's no limit on virgins. You can have as many virgins as you want as long as they're AI and not conscious.
Okay, interesting. Alright, what's a moral issue today that you feel the most strongly about, and why?
Me not having enough girlfriends. Autistic, there's one thing I care about. Everything else is like, who cares? But I don't know. I don't. I think of moral issues in the context of which ones can we solve next. And right now, when AI essentially takes over, the easiest ones to solve are going to be a universal basic income, curing poverty, providing food, homelessness, ending homelessness. Those are things AI can solve pretty easily.
Does do you worry about AI?
No. It's like if you think about it, can you name one technology that humans have ever invented that has been a net negative for humanity?
So we're not including, like, weapons and stuff.
Anything, anything you want.
What if I said an atomic bomb?
Nuclear power has saved hundreds of billions of lives. So even if we took all deaths by all nuclear weapons, that's several tens of thousands. It's not even in the hundreds of thousands. Even if we take all nuclear decay disasters of Chernobyl and the ones in Japan and like the four in America, the number of lives that nuclear power has saved in one city is more than all of the deaths caused by nuclear power in the history of the planet. And there are nuclear power powers thousands and thousands of cities.
But doesn't that ar I mean, that's a good point, but doesn't the argument of the whole just because there has been technology that has been a net negative world, that doesn't mean there can't be, though?
Well, sure, it's an inductive argument. So, like, um, if you're going to like make a guess, is AI going to be good or bad for the future of humanity? And you wanted to try and make an educated inductive guess, you'd say, well, okay, well, is this technology any fundamentally different than any of the other technologies? Are the arguments against AI any fundamentally different than the arguments against nuclear power or weapons or fossil fuels? All of the arguments about using these things are exactly the same, that they could destroy the world, that is going to cause moral degradation. We're going to lose some of our knowledge because we don't do things anymore. Like, I don't know how to skin a fish or hunt a deer, but did that make society negatively worse because we have factory farms and agriculture? Well, no, those things improved the world. And so even if we lose all of these skills, like programming, if we just lose the ability to program, it won't matter because there's going to be new ways to program that are simpler, like the drag and drop types of programming. And so every skill that we lose is just going to be like all of the other skills that humanity has lost over the decades, like learning how to hunt and skin animals or how to identify which mushroom won't kill you in the forest. And there are going to be people who are going to choose to do those things because they're hobbies, just like any skill, but they're not going to be necessary. And so, based off of the past history of human development and technology, it seems more likely that AI will be a net good, just like every other technology.
Do you think it would be a net good or end up being a net good if society came up with technology that would give us the ability to live forever?
Yeah.
In place of, but you don't think it'd be, well, I guess I'm thinking like it'd be overcrowded, but then I'm thinking, well, maybe they put the consciousness in something that makes things less crowded, then that could solve a few things. But
We realize there's space is a thing, right? Like two points on the overcrowdedness thing. One, if we took all humans and just threw them in a hole, the Grand Canyon, just all humans who are currently alive, and we just threw them in the Grand Canyon, it wouldn't even fill up halfway. There is no overcrowding issue. There's a traffic issue because people like certain areas better than other areas, but we could literally spread out on the planet and populate increase the population by to like 100 billion and be fine.
well, I was thinking, I guess, from the perspective of the humans that really like their space, like having a good amount of space around them.
Or like how many miles would you like? How many square miles are there on the surface of the planet? How many people
I
would you
mean,
need?
true, but by that point, people could get pretty selfish, though. You can live forever. You want more space around you. You want to see less people. A lot of people are stacking up. You're 1,000 years old. You're getting a little sick of it now. You want to buy hundreds of miles of space? Maybe.
Which
Hypotheticals, though.
planet would you like? Which of the 800 trillion billion planets would you like?
It's a good rebuttal. Ooh, I had, yeah, okay. Because everyone brings up the morality stuff. Do you think there are dangers in grounding morality in purely secular or scientific terms?
There would be no different in grounding morality in any one thing that would create some kind of a problem that it would not create in a different ideology. So, like, if you ground morality in, say, a consciousness, like a God, the consciousness makes morality subjective to the consciousness. So the consciousness change its mind, then morality is subjective. If when you want to have a morality that is the least open to change, you have to ground it in an inanimate object, like a platonic object, or like an a priori abstract, or some universal law. And then those are the least open to change, the least open to interpretation. The ones that are the most open to interpretations are things that are grounded in consciousness or feelings or intuitions, whether those are of a subjective culture or of a supreme being doesn't make a difference. They're still subjective. So the entire point of the word is that it's contingent on a subject. And so potential problems of grounding a morality is that whatever you ground your morality in makes morality contingent on the thing you're grounding it in. And so you want to ground it in something that is the least likely to change. And the thing that is the least likely to change is going to be like a platonic abstract or a law of physics. Those are the things in the universe that we know are the least likely to change. And so the biggest risks are going to be grounding morality in a consciousness. Those are the biggest problems because if he drowns millions of babies, apparently that's going to be moral if you ground morality in that being's actions.
How much do you read?
I used to read a lot. Now I don't really. I used to, when
So
I
do
would
you,
invite on a professor, they'd send me their book and be like, "Hey, can you read my book?" I'm like, "All right, I'll read your book and get a signed copy."
why'd you stop reading as much?
Reading does not help me get a girlfriend.
Back to that. Always come
All
back to
day.
that.
All day, every day.
I assume women like men who read, though, at times. I guess it shows a man has some kind of extra hobby at least.
Yeah. There but you can just have any extra hobby, and it doesn't need to be reading. Reading takes a lot of time. Like, the only thing that'd be worth reading would be, like, Six of Crows, popular chick flick teen drama things, romance novels, then it's interesting. Reading physics textbooks is not really a sexy hobby.
Well, wouldn't it be better than I guess girls would find it unattractive for a man to play video games?
Possibly. I mean, it depends. Go to, like, an anime con, I think you're more likely to be able to meet women at an anime con than, like, a book fair.
That's actually a pretty good point. Wait, do you play video games?
I used to.
Were you a
Playing
PS2 guy?
mm, no. I had a N64, GameCube, 3, 4, 5. I think that was it.
Dang. Dang. Okay. And looking ahead, what are the goals you wanna accomplish with your channel still?
Would you like to take a guess?
It's gonna have to do with women, I imagine.
There you go, you got it, yes. So that's the reason I started my channel, and the only thing that really matters to me is, like, can I use my channel to meet women or impress women? That's it.
How impressed are women usually when you bring up the channel on dates?
Um, Usually surprisingly a decent amount. They say I have, like, 32,000 subscribers, or like, "Oh, like, that's a lot."
Oh, that's a good point, because women are attracted to a man with status, and if it show them that you have 32,000 people that wanna see you every week, or however often you said to post it, I think you said every day, then that would show a man of status, so I assume that does work quite often.
Yeah.
Are there any goals outside of the women thing? Like, obviously, you want growth, but I'd imagine sure you want some, like, maybe some conferences you wanna speak at, would you wanna speak at, like, the Oxford Union or something like that?
Victoria's Secret?
It's unbelievable. So then, if you weren't doing debates in philosophy, what do you think your life would look like?
Um, well, mostly my other, because I have, like, 5 jobs, and so
Yeah.
if I wasn't doing debates, I'd just be doing other jobs, other ways to try to build status, build money, build security.
But this is your
So,
favorite way of doing it though, right?
uh, no, because my favorite ways to do it would be ways to meet women and make money. So definitely not. It's the least effort way to make money because I don't have to do much. Sit and talk about things that I know about. But yeah, I do bike delivery for Jimmy John's. That one's fun. Extra getting paid to exercise is nice. Chess coaching is also pretty easy, low effort. Stocks is pretty low effort.
Do you have any oh, surely you have some stories from Jimmy John's from doing delivery. How long you been doing delivery for?
2, 3 years ish.
Anything unique happen?
Sure. Yeah, there was one time where an employee was pissed, and he got because he came in late, and I got his shift because he didn't show up, and he got really pissed at the manager. So he grabbed a chair and he threw it across the room. He grabbed a sandwich and threw it across the room. Oh, that was pretty funny. But he had some problems. He was not in a good space. His bike was like a little kid's BMX bike. Like, he did not have a stable life.
What are your do you have like a top 3 Jimmy John sandwiches?
I do an unwich, so like no bread, just the lettuce wrap, um, roast beef, turkey, fried onions, regular onions, Caesar sauce.
You anti-bread?
Anti-fat, calories. Got to do the protein, high protein, low carbs.
Are you a big because that gets you women.
Yes,
Nice.
there you go. You're catching on. You're
I'm
getting it.
catching
Getting it.
on.
You're
I
getting it.
get it now.
Yeah.
Because I was about to ask you if you exercise a lot, but I imagine you do.
Doing bike delivery is, yes, lots of exercise. I bike 20 miles a day for work every day. And then when I'm in a cutting stage, I'll do another 20 miles when I get home.
How's that work when it's like Minnesota winters?
Doesn't make a difference. Still do it.
Doesn't make a difference.
Yep. It's a bike all year round.
So you must have an indoor bike then, or like a exercise bike.
No, it's bike delivery. I mean, I could try bike delivery on an indoor bike, but I wouldn't get very far.
I'm just amazed that you're able to bike when it's ice and snow on the ground in Minnesota.
Yeah, you get studded tires. Studded tires with metal studs in them. You can go over the ice pretty easily.
Okay, well, have you ever had? You probably haven't, but I gotta ask all our guests this question. Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
Um, Depends what you mean. So, like, have I had an experience which could be labeled as a ghost? Sure. Have I actually met a ghost? No. I'm an atheist. Um, there were a lot of times where just really improbable things happened, like flipping a coin 15 times, getting heads every time. It's just like it was weird. Like doesn't really happen, but nothing like super fantastical. I can't really remember a lot of them because back when that time period, that was like 15, 20 years ago, and I took a bottle of sleeping pills when I was like 25, so I can't really remember a lot from behind back then. It's very fuzzy.
Do you think aliens are real?
Yes,
Do you think they're from space, or do you think they're from a different dimension, or do you think they're
Mexico.
from the Earth? Mexico.
Yeah. There's no different dimension aliens. That doesn't even make sense. Dimensions don't work that way. Dimensions are tiny, tiny things that are like too small for anything for like even particles to live in. But there's definitely a sufficient number of planets to harbor life. None of them have come to Earth, but they're definitely out there.
You don't believe any have come to Earth?
No. Why would aliens travel millions of years at the speed of light to come visit some monkeys? What would be the point? Like they have
So
better
you'd be
things to
awfully
do.
shocked if they ended up showing up all of a sudden.
Yeah, they would be. I'd be like, you guys really spent that many years to come visit some monkeys? Like you had nothing better to do, really? Like really?
Well, I guess that assumes that they're from space. I mean, there's that whole theory that they have some kind of civilizations in the ocean.
I don't think those would qualify as aliens. I think those would qualify as like Atlanteans. But no, there's no Atlanteans in the ocean.
Okay. Oh, I had one more epistemology question for you. So you emphasize a lot on your channel the idea of epistemology. What do you think most people get wrong about how we know what we know?
Um, Depends on the group. So like most theists think that they know things, especially arguments and evidence for God, on very good philosophical grounds. It's not, absolutely none of it. Historicity is absolutely atrocious when it comes to trying to justify anything in the Bible. Like the first existing character in the Bible was David. Like there's no other evidence for any of the other characters prior to David even existing. Um, Historically, archaeologically, none of it doesn't even exist. Like Moses, there's no evidence Moses existed. Tons of evidence he didn't exist. But so that would be one thing that theists typically get wrong. Atheists typically get wrong that most of their beliefs are grounded in strong scientific evidence, when really most of our beliefs are grounded in intuition and you justify it with science after the fact. So those would be the two biggest things.
Cool. Well, last question for you. We always ask people on our show. One question you would ask God if you knew he would answer right here and right now. What would you ask?
Oh, lottery numbers?
Non-financial questions
What?
and women.
Um, All right, let's see how I can game this system. Location of lost treasure.
Okay.
Location of a lost baseball card signed by Babe Ruth.
First time you got that. Cool. Well, Tom, we appreciate you coming on. Any final words, tips, pieces of advice or wisdom?
Smoke weed every day.
Thank you. Tom, thanks for coming on, man.
Yep, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.